Now there's plenty of talk around at the moment at some fantastic builds that have been done in people's garages, and we've located one that is incredibly special. It's a 45 with a Barra conversion, so let's go and check it out. You are going to love it.
Welcome to my garage. My name's Richard. This is my Barra swapped, chassis swapped, diff swapped 1970s 40 Series LandCruiser. I've been working on this for the past 18 months, so this is a lockdown project that just kept on going. It was actually 3 cars to begin with, so it's an 80 Series LandCruiser chassis, and it's got the 40 Series cab on it, and a motor from an XR6 Turbo, an FG Falcon. Without doubt, the hardest part of the build for me was putting a Barra in. It's my first engine conversion, and I definitely learned a lot in the process. Why the Barra? There are a few motors on the shortlist. This is a budget build, believe it or not. It might not look it, but it certainly is. And as far as parts and availability go, they're just everywhere. I think there was close to 1 million sold in Australia. You can go down to your local Repco and get a full gasket kit for a motor, and it's like, how many motors can you go and do that for? There's not many. As far as an engine conversion on a budget goes, I think it's personally really hard to beat. You can produce a lot of power for very cheap. And there's just so much aftermarket support. You can just go get off-shelf fittings for everything, and they're a really popular choice for good reason. The engine conversion took me actually close to 6 months. And then the rest of the build, as you see it, probably another 6 months. It's really hard to get a Toyota chassis to work with a Ford motor and a Toyota cab and Nissan diffs. There's just so many hours that have gone into mating it all together. Basically everything's custom on the build. I've designed a whole heap of components on CAD. There's not a whole heap of off-shelf sheet metal components. I've laser cut and CNC bent a lot of it just to make sure it all fits. I reckon the oldest part would be the body. It's a 1973, so it's essentially 50 years old. There was so much rust repair. Yeah. I was literally doing rust repair for a month. It was a nightmare. Control diffs, that was a really hard part. We built a jig to get all the hard points in the right spot, so it's a direct bolt up to the 80 Series chassis. There are definitely some disadvantages of the patrol diffs. I mean, the tail shaft angle is one of those, and it's something I've just sucked up. The reason for doing it is because they're a stronger diff, and I can also GVM upgrade the car. But it was a lot of work. I basically had to cut all the brackets off an 80 Series diff, cut all the brackets off a patrol diff, weld everything back together and paint it and put it on the car and check all the stuff to make sure there's no clashes. I've got a fuel system, custom tanks, 200 litres, should give me about a 1300k range. It's geared towards touring, but if I'm just gonna hit the tougher tracks, I'll just fill up the front one, which is way better for weight distribution. I had to high mount the turbo on this build because it clashed with an engine mount, a standard 80 Series engine mount. I tried not to have a crossover pipe.
I don't think it's a really good principle to have crossover pipes on a 4-wheel drive, because when you're crawling at slow speeds, the air gets heat soaked and then it defeats the whole purpose of having an intercooler.
I've designed an airbox in this particular way just so I could get straight to the snorkel, so I didn't have to cross over the engine. I didn't have to put a clear lid in, but it looks cool. It's been a bit of a process to get a build like this roadworthy and get plates on it. I've been working with a VAS engineer the whole time to make sure everything's up to standard and meets all the laws and regulations. There are definitely a lot of compliances that I've had to work around. Generally, automotive engineers cop it for not making vehicles serviceable. Most things are easy to get to, and I can get in there and service it myself. The inside, I was going to keep it pretty stock initially, and I got to it and I just thought it's going to look better after I've angle grinded it. I ripped it all apart, custom floor pans, custom trans tunnel with a removable lid, so the whole lid comes off and I can get an engine crane in and then drop a trans. I really want this vehicle to feel like it was from 2022 Apple CarPlay. It was a definite for me. We've got the Haltech digital dash, and it's fully configurable, and there's all the CAN bus readouts on it. I've got Subaru WRX seats, which are a really good compromise for something that hugs you. I've got a console fridge with wireless charging in the middle. I've got a roof console at the top, which is a product that we designed off a 3D scan, and it's got all your upfitter switches in the middle, the UHF and USB charging on there as well. Still has wind down windows and it doesn't have central locking, but as far as driving like a modern car, I've really tried to incorporate a lot of accessories to do that. The hardest part of a build like this is finding the motivation to keep it going. I'm up to about 2,500 hours on this so far, and there's still many more to go. So there's a lot of time in the shed that you have to spend alone with yourself. Getting up on a cold winter's morning or working late on a hot summer's evening, it's just really hard to find the motivation sometimes. I'm an engineer myself. Check out my YouTube channel, Designed and Built, if you want to see the entire process of the whole build. I'm yet to test this thing on the road, and I'd love to go out on a trip with Simon and see what he thinks of it. Maybe if the comments section really calls for it, I'll take it out with 4-wheel drive TV and you guys can see it in action on the tracks.
Guys, I am loving this content. Richard's 45 and his Barra conversion is just next level. Now, I know what I want to see next, but how about you guys leave a comment below? Should we take Richard out on a trip and get that thing dirty? Let us know, guys. We'll see you soon.